gentlemen, welcome to episode 50, the first of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2021. 2020 is in the rearview mirror, Bill, and I couldn't be happier about it. And
I'm ready for 2021 to be in the rearview mirror, and we're 3
right.
days into it.
Fair. It's fair. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to drive the show today. We thought we'd change it up. You know,
Yeah.
every 50th episode or so, I'll drive the show.
Sounds like a
I
plan.
think that's fair.
Yeah.
Before we start, and we talked about, way back in 2020, we were begging our viewers to put us over the 300 subscriber mark, and we blew past that. I think we may have even gone beyond it before that episode dropped, but nevertheless, thank you everyone for subscribing to the channel. Keep going, keep telling friends. If you haven't yet, do it again. We've got stuff that we will talk about closer to the end of this episode that you're going to want to hear about.
I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Yeah,
I see now.
I'm good. So, so you're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to hit the bell, all that good stuff, because we have some things in the works. This time we really mean it. Like next week, we've got things in the works.
You just say this. We were trying to get over 300, and I think if we did we blow past it? Sure. Is it as impressive as I like to think that sounds? Maybe not. So I won't say the number, but we're over 300 now.
Right.
Or we're over.
That's true.
I was just checking it on my mobile device.
That's true. All right. Anyways, so for episode 50, we've got quite the menu of topics. So we're gonna do some gear talk. William's got his hands on a brand new driver that you're going to want to hear about as we prepare for the 2021 season. We have a new segment that we're going to roll out where we talk about so the idea is we're going to talk about some sort of golf jargon, some technical aspects of golf that I can never keep straight. So I'm the perfect sort of student for this and the good person to ask questions of Bill, who is our resident golf technical expert.
I just want to say I appreciate it, and thank you to me for thinking I should ask you about this. I love when we're going to get into. I'll let you cover the subject when we get there, but you're like, hey, thanks for the heads up, so I can come in prepared with actual knowledge for you. Appreciate it.
I had the outline was updated, like all week.
Also something I'm not used to, but all right. I mean, I'm good with
it. Hey, it's a new year. It's a new me. New year, new me. New year, new me. New year, new me.
In a subject you're going to get into, I give that exactly 1 month to last.
It's probably fair. Yeah. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to close the show out with a little surprise, a little tease about what's coming up later as you watch this on Thursday next week.
Yeah.
Cool. Now there's something that, because it's a new year, and I did this for those that listen to the very old podcast way back in 2020, where we did a podcast every day.
We're on Lockdown Golf Podcast,
right?
Now,
Lockdown Golf Podcast,
not Origin Stories. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Lockdown Golf Podcast. I was doing Dry January. I was participating in Dry January. I made it 26 days.
Pretty good.
Which was, it got me in. We were reminiscing about it. Restaurant week here in the city got me because we went out for a nice meal with some friends back when we did those sorts of things. And I broke down and I had myself a nice cocktail.
Do you remember actually way back then? We weren't doing Lockdown Golf Podcast yet.
Oh, you're right.
We weren't. It was on this show, and it's funny. It's two people who are openly supporters of wearing masks, social distancing, and staying safe from COVID, right? We got in a fight on this show, a fight, okay? And I think if people haven't figured out by now that our fights are in good fun, and at the end of the day, we're very good friends and don't mean it.
Right.
Come on now, we're 50 episodes in. But we got in an argument on that about, I'm like, you can't do that. It's this virus that's going around. We don't even know anything about it yet. We were still going to work, bars were open, whatever.
That's right.
And little did we know.
Yeah. Well, you and I had a drink at a bar after work around that time.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So anyways, I am doing it again. Dry January has begun. 31 days, no alcohol. I've had 2 real challenges thus far after what are we in day 2 or day 3 of January? And that was today during the Bears game. I really wanted to have a beer because that's what you do when you watch a Bears game. It's what you Bears fans, that's what we need to
I
do
say to
when
survive.
we're watching a Bears game and doing this show because I always have, as everyone knows, a drink here to my left.
Yep.
Uh, and today it's just my homemade sparkling water that I've got.
Yep. So this year I decided to join you.
Mhm.
Largely out of, I'll just say without going into too much detail, I didn't feel great yesterday, and I said I how old am I? For Christ's sake. So um I'm joining you this year, but the problem was I found a very good, not super common, 1 can left, uh, hazy or double IPA of some sort,
Yeah,
right?
it's a very, very good beer. One of my go-tos, quite often since you introduced me to it.
Remember when I
Yes,
brought you a can that one time?
I do.
And you're
Yeah.
like, "I didn't think you were gonna do it," and I said, "Oh, I did it." Anyway, yeah, it's so good, and I found 1 left. I'm like, "Well, this isn't gonna survive till the end of dry January." So I know it's not technically correct, and the Seinfeld, "I'm out" thing was very relevant and funny, but, I think I'm gonna give myself a small cheat, and at some point in the coming weeks, I'm allowed to drink that beer. That's it. I can't drink more that night. I can't have anything else, and I think my dad's birthday is January 14th. That might be the day I have it.
That's fair.
There's that. Now here's my
That's fair.
question for a dry January, assuming I make
Yeah,
it to the end.
yeah,
Um, my birthday is January 31st. Is that okay to end it that day, the last day?
for sure,
Okay. I didn't know because 'cause I'm like,
for
I'm
sure.
not
That's
this
that's fair. That's allowed.
okay, and because I started it 2 days well, really only started it 1 day late, but
Right.
in theory, I declared no, I declared yesterday. I said
You
I was
did.
doing it yesterday. Alright, so yeah, I'm 1
You
day
did.
late. I'm 1 day
Yeah,
late, and
you
if
did.
one would argue New Year's Day doesn't count, so I'm right on time.
Yeah, because I think my last drink bled into the new year, technically speaking. I
Yeah,
think my
see
final, like, 3 sips of beer were in 2021.
no,
But once I slept, it began.
I'm 1 day late. My poor behavior day was
Right.
New Year's Day.
Right. So for those of you that, are also doing the dry January, welcome to the team. William, welcome to your dryish January. It's, you'll
I told my wife so I had one of those incidents too where I was like, "Oh god." And it's funny because 'cause I've made it through, making it through plenty, right, whatever. Um, to be fair, I say that like, no, I made it through yesterday, it was not a good idea. Today, was day 1. So I haven't really made it through like a tough couple days, God forbid, right? Um, but what got me during said Bears game was when I wheeled the smoker out and
Oh,
I
yeah.
started I told my wife this well before dry January, like, weeks ago. Was just cooking dinner one night and using it. And the problem is, it's like a Pavlovian dog thing. As soon as I get that thing wheeled out, filled with pellets
Totally.
yeah, okay, hardcore smoker guys, I use a pellet grill, and I don't care. Um, but as soon as that thing, like, turns on and you get that, like, first whiff, whatever wood's burning, I'm like, "Ah, I'm alright, gonna go in the garage fridge and pick a drink," and then you're like
Yeah.
and it's freezing cold at 4 o'clock on a Sunday with an important Bears game on. I'm like, "Yeah, this is not what I'm doing."
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that it'll eventually fade a little bit, but
And additionally,
yeah.
this is, like, gonna be the first January in what I'm 30 well, this will be my 36th year. My first January probably in 36 years of life, I haven't had a horrible sinus infection, flu, whatever, because 'cause we're not going anywhere, so I'm not
Oh,
catching
yeah.
anything, and, not out in the cold commuting, any of that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna be pretty healthy this month. No drinking. That's alright. It's good for the soul, it's good
It is.
good for
It's a
us.
good reset. I enjoyed it last year. I felt much more energetic and I slept a little bit better. And I tend to instead like last night, instead of sitting down and having a drink like I usually do, I cleaned. Like I just scrubbed like all of our, countertops down and arranged things and just kind of kept busy for a while. Then I was like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I guess I'll
I'm not
go to
too
bed.
worried about it from this perspective of outside of the holidays, like I went on and I held it pretty well. Like I don't drink on school nights kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to be the shock and like, oh, it's a good thing for your own self-discipline, whatever. What's going to get me in a good way is how bad you get off course with that over the holidays and the beating your system takes that
Yeah,
a month to just dry it out. It's more that, not like the
for
whole
sure.
it's not even the conceptual thing for me at this point. It's like the pure clean your system
Yeah, it's a total
perspective.
detox. It's a total
Oh
detox
god.
for sure.
I told my wife, I go, so I'm having that Pavlovian response. I go, I gotta go get things to like, you know, sparkling water or
Yeah.
like make kitty cocktails with Sprite and grenadine, just something to be like, it's not just water. Because I don't drink
Right. Oh
coffee,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't drink tea. The last thing I need to do is take on an already worse pop affliction. So it's like, well, you're not drinking alcohol ever, so you're just drinking like a case of Coke a day. I don't need
Hmm.
that in my life.
No, that'll defeat the purpose
Yeah.
for
We
sure.
talked about this a long time, longer than I thought we would.
All right. With that being said, are you ready for the first gear talk of 2021, William?
I'm going to show you how. Look, I'm back.
Ah, let's do gear talk. All right, William, we have our notes
We
for
do.
the first gear talk, and you've got your hands on the
This is,
new
let me see.
Cobra driver. Oh, there you go. You got your hat and everything.
Yeah, right. Cobra.
So this is the new newly named RADSpeed driver.
Yep. There she is.
All right.
Swinging on there. Here, do we want to do it real quick?
Oh yeah, let's do
Thumbnail.
it.
Do you
Let's
want to count? Do you want to count it? Hang on.
Okay, ready? Make sure it's focused.
I'm having a hard time already.
Yeah. Okay, smile. You got to
No,
smile.
count. I thought you were gonna count it off.
Oh, okay. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Good job. Thank you, everybody, for that.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Tell me about RADSpeed. What
So,
they got going on this year?
I understand where people hear that RADSpeed name and they're like, oh boy, it's a little much, but it actually has a purpose and a meeting. It is meeting has a meeting, 11 o'clock service, um, has a meaning, and what it's short for is radial weighting, rad weighting, rad speed, because the whole design
Okay.
is based on giving you more ball speed, increasing forgiveness, performance in general. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been saying for a while that, well, I'm not the only one. This is not an original idea, and I don't think I'm some like golf visionary for the statement I'm gonna make, but drivers are pretty maxed out, right? They're making the faces as thin as they can. They have technology to strengthen them and not strengthen them certain places. Like they've
Right.
pushed like the laws of physics almost as far as they can. So the two things they can do is make them as forgiving as possible and feel as good as possible. Forgiving in the sense no matter where you hit it on the face, it's going to be a good shot. The club feels balanced. It's going to help make up for your mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something Cobra did. And the whole concept of this radial weighting is it's optimal weight around the center of gravity of the club. So there's a certain like perfect weight distribution to make the head forgiving and come through quick and do everything well, right? Well, that was the goal of this. Now, that's about as deep as I'm going to explain the engineering and physics behind it because one, I'm not smart enough. I am not a physicist or an engineer. Two, in the review, which you will find at drivingheroes.com and down here somewhere. Oh, by the way, you forgot
True.
to do all the like, subscribe down below because we like this trick, the finger
Oh
point.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But we still said help us out. Anyway, in that review, at the very end, I link, hey, if you want to get into the more technical side of it and really get into the science of this, because some fellow golf nerds like myself are into that and do want to learn those things. You can follow that link in my review and go learn more about the engineering concepts. I I try to talk about them in the review a little bit, but more so how they apply to my experience with the club. And I think that's more what people want to get out of a review is, okay, great. It's flying to the moon and back. What was it like for you? So
Right, right.
I approach the
And we'll
technology.
cover a little bit around the CG piece in the following segment.
Sneak peek.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like I said to you in text, I go, hey, it actually feeds in nicely. But
smart.
um, the one thing I'll say about this club, I've been playing Cobra clubs for a long time, and I don't remember if I left it in the review or not, but the last time I had a Cobra driver in my bag prior to last season was the King LTD, which was quite a few years ago. Then I went
Yeah,
through a couple TaylorMades, a couple Callaways, and the whole I'm going to hit whatever driver is best for me. Last season, the Cobra Speed Zone came out. I thought for sure I'd be back in the Callaway again, and not that I had to change, but we're golf guys. If we're going to
right.
get the opportunity, why
We're gonna
not?
change. Right.
So I thought, oh, I'll be in the new Callaway. I like the one before it so much. And man, that speed zone driver just blew everybody out of the water for me.
Yeah.
Every
I remember
single.
I remember you gushing about it. I remember watching you hit with it. And because you were a little, I want to not you weren't convinced necessarily right away. You were still kind of fighting. You knew that it was a great club and that it was great for you, but
Mhm.
you were still a little hesitant for whatever reason to like replace. I mean, it's a big deal replacing the driver, but
Right.
like you couldn't argue with the performance
Well,
of
here's
that
here's
club.
kind of why, to go off track a little here. The King F9, which our buddy J Rip plays now,
Yeah.
that and the Callaway Epic Flash Sub Zero the season before last season were like neck and neck. And I remember standing on a tee box waiting for people to show up from the Chicagoland area at TPC Deer Run on a like awesome July day. I didn't quite I no, I did have my Mevo out like a huge loser. I drove 2.5 hours away, warming up my way around, but I was so intrigued by what was happening with these two drivers. I'm like, I'm just gonna like whatever one gives me better numbers on the range. That's what's going in my bag. And so is the F9, the Epic Flash Sub Zero. And the problem I ran into, I was more consistent with the Callaway, but my best numbers between the two clubs were with the Cobra by a mile. But I
Hmm.
was inconsistent with it, and it just like I never quite got dialed in with that. I think that was the better of the two drivers for me. I just couldn't ever come around. I mean, I had to say I went to the extent of you putting the same shafts in both of them. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just never took that spot over. So coming into the speed zone season, same thing. Like I got the new Maverick Sub Zero. I have the King F9, or I'm sorry, the Speed Zone. I
Right.
bet you I'm anticipating it's gonna be similar to last time. And it was the same thing. The best numbers came out with the Cobra. Callaway had okay numbers, but I never really got consistent with that Callaway. And the Cobra kept being good for me. That speed zone just kept being good for me. And I'm like, okay, it's been a little bit. I'll even like A/B test it. I'm gonna try other brands.
Yeah.
Everything I put up against it, it just blew out of the water. It was
Yeah.
so good. So last season was the return of a Cobra driver in my bag, and I think they made great products between Speed Zone and I mean, one could say I thought the F9 was really good, it just didn't match for me for whatever reason. Um, F7, F8, all were good, but an issue I had with those two clubs, the F7 and F8 specifically, they sounded great, they felt great, but I couldn't ever get the spin down. I've come to realize I don't play great with a heavier forward center of gravity. I just it is what it is. I like a little bit of launch help by placing
Yeah.
it back in Cobra. I mean, if I move that center of gravity into the back position, it was just night and day. I was flushing the ball, man. It was so good, but I'd always have a little too much spin and a little too much launch. That stopped happening in the speed zone. So okay, great. Then this club comes out, the Cobra RADSpeed Driver, and, I tried it with the weight forward, and I mean, I was hitting, like, just ropes where
So it does have some adjustability to it
yeah, 2 weight
for the weight.
swappable weights, again, out, in, not, like, sliding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that. A lot of brands doing sliding weights, it's just more hardware in the head. It's
Yeah.
hard to when you have to put that hardware in that you lose a lot of control in it, so just screwing them in and out. Obviously, you don't have as much fine tuning in it. It is what it is. But so yeah, you can put a heavier weight in the back or the front, and dial it in that way. You can get heavier weights, lighter weights. The weight kits aren't out yet. I mean, technically, I don't think the driver's even out yet. Um, I did that with the Speed Zone. I bought different weights from them because I'm like, I can't get it just right. I need these weights. And it actually made a huge difference, all jokes aside. So this driver, the RADSpeed, just low bullets with the low forward center of gravity. I mean, playable, but it was like I was only getting carry of 230 to 250 at most. And it's good, it's fine, but like
Yeah.
it's just not where I hit driver carry. When I'm dialed in, I carry driver
Yeah.
280 to 290 something, depending on what I'm hitting, when, where, whatever, right?
Right.
So I want to be able to carry lakes. I want to be able to carry bunkers. I want to be able to get over stuff and get the ball in the air enough. And I couldn't do it that weight forward without working really, really hard. And frankly, I'm not good enough for that. I'm just not. But man, sub 2000 spin numbers. I mean, I'm hitting, I'm not kidding you. I'm hitting like 7.5 degrees to, I got that one in the air a little bit. It was 9.5 degrees launch.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
just jumping. I want to be clear. I would get 70 yards a roll out of these things. So there are some
Right.
that I'm carrying them
Yeah.
251, finishing at 310. It's like,
Right. Right.
it's awesome,
Yeah. Just lasers. Yeah.
But that's what they were. They were lasers. So if I'm playing
Yeah.
St. Andrews, as in Scotland, not where we meet up
Right.
and play,
Right.
I'm gonna kill with this thing. But
Right.
it wasn't good. But then I moved the weight back. Yep, I'm flushing the ball better. Let's making way better contact on the face. But is this gonna be the same thing where my spin's a little higher? Not really. It's just a little too spinny, and my
Yeah.
launch is creeping up on me. Absolutely not. It's like
Mm.
whatever these wizards of engineering did with this radial
Right.
speed. And so like part of this rad speed concept, there's like 16 grams uh of static weight right behind the face, and then there's another 8 grams in the back. So you can see it in the pictures that we can post on here.
Yeah.
And that doesn't move. And
Okay.
so either way, when you take your heavier weight and swing it to the back of the club, you still have 16 grams of weight there. And then either your 2 gram or whatever replaceable weight you put in the front, the lighter one in theory, like you still have some weight up there to keep your spin down, to keep your launch under control, but you're still going to have more in the back, which is, I want to give away our other segment, but by moving it back, it's easier to launch. It is going to give you a little more spin. So what I ended up having was like 11 degree ish
Okay.
launch angle, which is still pretty low for me.
Yeah.
So shocking. I said I had I think an 11.7 average on the Smoke
Yeah.
Blue RDX.
Yeah.
So happens the stock shaft, and this was a Smoke Blue RDX, and I had like 11 degrees of launch. So I'm like, all right,
There you go.
consistent across my reviews,
There you
friends.
go.
But then my spin was still in the like 2200 range, and I've never seen it. And I didn't. When I say this, that's not like an average. Oh, I snuck in some 2500s. I mean, I did, but like I didn't have the high end of the spectrum as much. It was pretty consistent in that like
Yeah.
10, 11 degrees, maybe getting into 12 every now and then with a 2000 to 2500 spin and with ease. I mean, with ease.
Yeah.
So I never felt like it's more balanced and I hit the ball. Everything's clearly better, but I just spin it too much. Like I'm losing speed or I'm losing distance and control. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't at all. So I would tell you, I have never seen that I know of in a Cobra driver this level of control and consistency in terms of spin, launch, and just general performance. So you can start getting into their CNC infinity face and explain that this a CNC milled, sorry, infinity
Yeah.
face. They're in the old days, right? You cut out these pieces of metal and they hand polish them to get them to the right thickness and whatever. It basically makes every head 101, and there's a certain tolerance level. And these they just mill them,
Yeah.
and so they push the legal limit as far as they can. But that also gives them the ability to keep it pretty sweet and fast across the whole face. So combine all those elements, the thing's just a monster.
Yeah.
Have I hit the new Sim 2 from TaylorMade yet? No. Have I hit the new Callaways that I've just seen pictures of recently? No. This one's gonna be tough to beat. It's gonna be so tough to beat in terms of performance. Now, Sound and feel, like I said, are very, very solid. It's different sound than I'm used to out of Cobra. I feel like they always have a little bit of that like um trampoline crack. Not like a pop, but it's still solid and muted, but there's that
Mhm.
little bit of like springiness to it, not in a metallic way. I know where everyone's going with that. This thing, man, it is firm and it's like a snap. I'd almost say a gunshot, but that's almost a little too
A little
loud.
too dramatic, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a nice firm snap and it's consistent across the face. Whereas, you usually hear it deaden up toward the heel and
Yeah.
toe.
Yeah.
Not so much. I will say you find the sweet spot right in the middle of the face. Yes, it is a little different. It is a little freer and sweeter, if you want to put it that way. But it's just a great snap, like with a little bit of whip to it. Just you really know it's snapping off that face, but it's firm. I can't express that enough. And then the feel, they go hand in hand, matches that. It is the most solid
Right.
Cobra driver I've ever felt. I will agree if you like those big, like metallic, springy trampoline faces, it's not this. If you're a fast swinging player, you're still gonna feel it hop off the face, and that rigidity of the head and the face is actually gonna be real desirable for you because you're gonna maintain a better response, more control in your hands.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're gonna
that's how it
know,
feel.
right, where that face was, yeah.
And one thing I'll add, the way they did that, you're used to your carbon crown on these Cobra drivers.
Mhm.
They put this thing called a T-bar speed chassis. We have a picture of it that we can pop up. And
Throw out there.
the way it works, take like the top line, right behind the face. That's metal, and then it makes like a thin T across the back of the face, right? So you basically have a
Okay.
T going back. Now, what that does, when you hit the ball, right? Everyone's seen that image where the ball like squishes like a pancake and shoots off, but like
Right.
the face goes like this too, right? But if
Right.
there's nothing to hold that up, like the driver really as a whole is going to go like this. And if you look at it in high speed cameras, but that
Mhm.
T, the ball hits it, right? And the back of the club stays stiff. So gives a little bit, but it's held and just transfers that energy back into the ball instead, much like we talked about shafts and the stability and torque in a shaft, right? It
Sure.
holds its shape. So instead of spending energy, going like this and coming back out,
Mhm.
it's going to put that energy just straight back into the ball, making it faster and go longer. And guess what, Chris? It's
Hmm.
exactly what I experienced. I was hitting it faster and longer than the Cobra Speed Zone driver currently in my bag. So as of now, the RADSpeed driver is looking like my gamer. Look, it's early. It's first week of January.
Right.
A lot of time to change my mind while it's still cold and can't play golf. But you know how it goes. So I think it's gonna be it. I think this could be it. I love it. It's like make the speed zone I already loved hotter, faster, and really frankly more forgiving and it'll bail me out a lot of trouble. So
And this one also comes with the Arcos Cobra Connect
yep. So if you're in the
feature?
whole
Okay.
game tracking and whatnot,
Yeah.
they continue with the Cobra Connect. I think you might have to look into it. I forgot. I should know this, but they used to have it where you bought one of the drivers, you could request sensors for the rest of the clubs, so you can get the rest. Arco
Oh, yeah,
Connect for
yeah.
the rest of your clubs.
Right.
I think is either that or the irons, one or the other. But
Yeah.
it's a fun feature. It is good. I do want to add, you said, yeah, it has the adjustable center of gravity. One thing around radial weighting with that is the design they went with made it so they could move the distance between those two weights further apart. So there's more space between the front weight and the back weight than there
Oh.
used to be. So what that means, Chris, when you move them, and this speaks to why it was so low, I think in the front of the face, there's more extreme
Mhm.
impact, and you're going to benefit from the whole purpose of that weight move in the first place.
Right.
So I love this thing. I know it's
Very
early. Maybe
cool.
it's first to the party. I don't know, but it looks really good. I think it feels good. I do think there are three drivers in the family. There's a super forgiving one with offset. There's a mid-range one, which is more forgiving. The weight, I think, is static in the back of the head, and they might even pop another weight toward the heel to make it draw bias. This is the better player one, where you're really looking
Yeah.
for, hey, help me hit it straight like because that's just what I want to do, and I'll take care of the rest.
All right.
That's gear talk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Gear Talk. Now we jump in right away to another new segment. We won't do this every week, just on occasion, when basically I have questions about something. But I wanted to start it off with two very important topics because I can't get these straight. You've heard me not being able to get these straight. Um, Center of gravity,
Mhm.
otherwise known as CG, and MOI. So this is our very first Ask Uncle Bill.
Ask Uncle Bill!
Okay, Uncle Bill, what exactly is CG and MOI, and why does it matter in a golf club?
Which one do you want to do first?
Let's start with moment of inertia, MOI.
You already took away half of my golf nerd thunder. Yeah, all right, let's start with MOI. MOI, we've had John Claffey talked about it on the show when he came to town and we introduced the Hot Launch 521 stuff. MOI does indeed stand for moment of inertia. You all know how I feel about the big long golf names that are tongue twisters. This is one of them, but
Yeah,
it's a very popular one in modern golf equipment. It's always existed, but now it's a big deal, especially like Tour Edge focusing so much on it. So here's what it means. We already said it's moment of inertia. Think of it this way. You know what I should have done, and I can do this. Hang on. Check this gym out. While we're on the Cobra topic today, and I've mentioned in the show before, old
oh, there you
Cobra
go.
DL head. Yeah, it is so dusty. Here's what it is, right? You hit a ball up here. The driver is doing that. If you think of physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to turn that way. If you hit a ball right here, it's going to do that. Now, depending on a bunch of factors, that's not going to go straight. So if you hit a ball like
Right,
this, it's either going to drag your face through and do that to you. Everyone's like, no, you tow a ball, you get the gear effect. Like, well, you tow a ball. We're talking more like here. But yeah, in
right,
theory, MOI is still going to make it do this, right?
right.
So gear effect, you get it towy, and you could also get that big, depending on your swing path, right? That big, huge sweeping hook. Heel, I just explained it. Same thing on the heel, right? But other
Right.
direction. Or it really
Now,
depends on your swing. Could go any direction.
specifically, that moment of inertia is when the ball and the club face meet.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, the ball's not moving, right? Things in motion and all that stay in
Right.
motion. If it's
Right.
gonna hit a golf ball right here, it's just gonna keep going through and
Right.
turn on you. So by increasing the moment of inertia to a bigger number, and is it grams per centimeter squared, or I think it's centimeter squared, not in
Yes.
either
I
way.
believe I remember Claffey getting mathy about that stuff. Yeah.
Right. I don't know what it means either, but Claffey came in and talked about how, like, yeah, 5,400, it's the highest we've
Right.
measured, and
Right.
4,500. So here's what I would say: the higher you hear an MOI number, think about it's going to twist less and be more stable. So the idea being, by raising the MOI, you mishit it, it's not going to want to twist on you, right?
Now, how do club manufacturers create that sort of environment in a club? How do they increase the MOI of a club?
I think the screw's going to fall out, man. Um, So a lot of them have done like the way Tour Edge did it is they took every advantage of, and I'm using that one because it's the extreme one we've talked about, right?
Sure.
They took every 460 cc's cubic centimeters of that driver head and shaped it in such a way so it's almost like perfectly balanced. And don't think we'll get into center of gravity. Don't think so much about it. That does play a huge role in it.
Right.
So when it hits there, the center, it hits on the toe, hits on the heel. It's like it's still so balanced. It doesn't want to twist. And it's they've basically created a balance point that's going to hold it as much in place as possible. You're never going to get it to not do that. But this is also a
Right.
reason like it's a major like offset really helps with MOI quite a bit because I don't know if that's exactly true, but in terms of it's making up for you hit the ball here, this is going to balance with that a little bit.
Right.
And so
Right.
a lot of them are doing it in different ways. Maybe they make the face thinner. Maybe they make the club when I say thinner, I should say shallower. Thinner, shallower. It's the same thing.
Same idea.
Sorry. um, but it could, I mean, They could be like a big round pancake looking thing. It's
Right.
so you see these like really player friendly profiles like peanuts and teardrops. Like those aren't going to be super high MOI. Naturally, they might do other things with internal weights, external weights, soul weights, whatever. But in theory, they won't be. So that's what MOI does for you. It makes the club more forgiving because it's not going to want to twist. You know, in theory, it's really helping your toe and your heel shots a lot. Center of the face, you're already squared. I mean, you start getting swing pass into it. That makes a difference too. But like if you're hitting off the center of the face and a square impact, that thing doesn't keep traveling straight through. You're good. You don't need the MOI.
The reason that MOI matters to us is because we don't hit the center of the face as often as the professionals do. So it's important that it has a high amount of MOI because we're the ones hitting off toe and heel. If you hit off the center of the face every time, I mean, MOI doesn't really play that much of a role.
It is a lot less important for sure. And especially when you combine it with, like we just talked about the Cobra RADSpeed Driver, right? That driver is quote unquote designed for a lower handicap tour player. I'm not a tour player. And I would say like compared to the average Joe, sure, I'm a lower handicap, but like, I'm not a low handicap player. I'm single digit, not a big deal. And you've seen how bad it can get. So anyway, but like yeah, even with not having that one happens to have a high MOI, but like they've had this infinity milled face, right? For a couple years. So when you mix a high MOI with the way they're making the modern faces so forgiving with such bigger sweet spots than the old pea size, like that's where that dime size sweet spot, pea size sweet spot. It's like because that's what the old clubs were like. I mean, I remember it was a big deal when I was in college. I bought myself last season's TaylorMade R580, and it felt like, I mean, the sweet spot was the size of a golf ball, not a pea. And I'm like, I got the easiest golf club to ever hit. They'll never make a better one. And now that thing, if I saw one, I'd hit it and then immediately throw it in the garbage. Like that's how far they've come.
Right. And we'll talk about it's a good idea for another Ask Uncle Bill topic. It's all around face design and face flex and how that works and why that matters. Because that is another big part of the forgiveness of a club. But that's more that part of it is more around distance than shape.
In this day and age, not necessarily. Need I remind you of TaylorMade's
well, I have the M2.
The twist face?
The twist face, sure.
You have the M3. I don't think M2.
M3. You're right.
Twist face. Is it twist face or speed? I can't remember.
Twist face. It's twist face.
Looked like a Pringle.
Yeah.
They're
it goes like this. Yeah, it goes like this.
They were onto something with that.
That's true.
Another show.
Yeah, another show. Okay, so we've talked about MOI and why that matters. Now, the other thing, and the reason I tied these two together is center of gravity, because that also that plays a role in some pieces of this. So, what is center of gravity, and why does it also matter in a club head?
So, when you put this on the list and said we were talking about it, I said, "You got to be kidding me." Everybody, if you buy golf gear at this point, you know what center of gravity is. But I was thinking about it. It is probably going way back into, we've talked about it in the vintage clubs we talk about on this show. Like you go way back, center of gravity has always been a thing. Now I think the ideas and beliefs and concepts have all sort of been different throughout the decades, but it is a major focus for a piece of golf equipment because if center of gravity screwed up, the whole thing's screwed up. That said, I don't think a ton of people really understand not necessarily what it means. It's pretty straightforward. Like, where's the center of gravity in your car? Where if you're think of growing up playing sports, like get in a good athletic position. It's all based off of having a good center of gravity, right?
Right.
So I think people get
from an impact perspective or what it does. I don't.
How does that apply to a golf club?
Right.
Right. Like I know if I set. Again, going to this driver head, it's like if I set it down on a table and I go, oh, I see it balancing, that must be its center of gravity. But, oh, that's it. You've solved it. Obviously, that's not it.
Way to go. Yeah.
Now, so the concept is the same. It is the balance point of the club. It's going to impact everything from feel, sound, swing path and angle and all that kind of crap, right? But really, and modern clubs has been impacting your launch angle and your spin. Now, there are other things, flight can get impacted, etc. But most of it's been like we talked about in the RADSpeed, right? Weight forward, weight back. You're literally moving the balance point of the club. And one of the things I keep talking about is I tend to not do well with a forward center of gravity. Now, what a forward center of gravity typically does is it brings your launch angle down and it brings your spin down quite a bit. Don't even think about launch angle so much. And we'll talk about why it brings launch angle down. But spin down, it's a much less forgiving club. But these big swing speeds like the Ricky Fowlers, Rory McIlroys, Dustin Johnson of the world, that forward center of gravity contains their speed because of that lower launch. Now, I'm sorry, lower spin and lower launch, which if you move that center of gravity forward in a driver, you have to keep it low. There's nowhere to put it. Otherwise, it's like right behind the face, and the top of the crown of the driver is going to get too heavy. And that means you have a high center of gravity, which we'll talk about that in a sec. So by moving the weight forward, you take your launch down, you take your spin down. By moving the center of gravity back, balancing it toward the back of the club, you are going to get a lower or a higher spin, higher launch, which means easier to get it in the air, easier to get a little spin and carry on it.
Right.
I want to be clear. It changes for everybody. Your hands are your hands. You feel it the way you feel it. You'll see what actually happens. But that's a lot. We're in like law of physics territory there.
Right.
Now.
Correct. No. Okay. Keep going.
You keep it low in the face, it's going to launch higher. Actually, that's the whole, like, a lot of the stuff was sub 70 and there are more blade irons here. And they're not the only ones, but I happen to have one sitting right here. So we'll use it. They have put more in their CB and MB clubs. They've put a little more weight down low to make the center of gravity lower. Whereas those Tommy Armour, Silver Scott, 915 irons you have back there are going to have a higher center of gravity. That higher center of gravity is going to promote a lower launch. So they're going to stay low, be more penetrating, but you move it down, they're going to have a higher launch and get in the air easier.
I see. Okay.
So that's been a big shift in modern day irons, that these players and still want these muscle backs, but they don't want that super high center of gravity. And it's funny, if you go back and look at a lot of the vintage irons, there are a bunch of them that have like the big fat muscle back on the top of the blade, and then it's thinner down by the sole.
Backwards. Yeah. Interesting. Huh. Okay. So when you see that muscle back, when you see that bottom half of the iron, that kind of protrudes right out of the back of the iron, that's the center of gravity. They're putting it lower so that the ball goes up.
Right.
Faster.
And then in a lot of the cavity backs these days, you'll see like pockets milled. And I think of like specifically my favorite irons, my Mura CB57s. They have these arches in the pockets, and they change as you go through the set. And that's them controlling where the center of gravity is on that ball because of how much weight's there.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
And then you get into
kind of what my Clevelands do that.
Right. Oh yeah.
My UHX irons, as I go up, if I go higher, like, my 6 iron and 5 iron, that center of gravity changes.
Yeah. And they'll do that. They'll make it so your long irons are launching higher and are more forgiving. Your short irons have a more penetrating flight and don't need as much forgiveness because they're just naturally easier to hit. But that's a good point, that a lot of times center of gravity is used to tailor flights throughout each club and to kind of customize it. And that's where a lot of the lead tape would come in back in the day, not just for swing weight, but also to, which maybe we can talk about that in another show. But largely to be like, hey, I'm hitting this ball too high. So they throw a bunch of lead tape on the top of that muscle back, right?
Okay.
Now
is it a little, I just have, maybe it's too much of a physics question, but is it a matter of whip? And that's where that high-low comes into play, is where the club whips through because it's weighted differently? Or
I don't know if I guess if I think I understand what you're saying, right? Yeah, whip could be an effective. So think about, like, I think of it like if I have all the weight in the bottom of the club going down, that wants to get to the ground first.
Gotcha.
So if the bottom of the club wants to get to I mean, this is very layman's terms of how I understand it. So if I'm wrong,
well, this is the point of the show, right?
But I like, so far this makes sense to me, and I feel like adds up every time someone scientifically explains it. if you get that weight lower in the head, it's gonna be the bottom of the club going under the ball quickest and fastest, leading through. If it's on top, it's gonna stay. That's gonna want to get to the ground first and hood it a
Right, it's
little
gonna
bit.
come down. Right.
And in theory, de-loft it.
Perfect.
In theory, anyone who's a TrackMan expert and feels like you can get on and get into doing it the right way, telling it the right way, so people understand it, do it. All I know is at the end of the day, you tell me the center of gravity is here, and it physically looks like it is, and then I go hit it and see, oh yeah, it does do it different. It's pretty straightforward. One thing going on to that tailoring, it's been especially prevalent in modern drivers, right? Don't think of your standard like the RADSpeed we just talked about, where you can move the weight back and forth. But think of like it's a RADSpeed Extreme, I think. They have a weight in the heel of the club. Like right.
I was headed there. Yeah.
Right here.
Okay.
So what that does, and I mean that's one way to like change your center of gravity more down in that area. That's making the club want to close faster, so you're squaring it up to the ball.
Right.
And
I was going to leave that. I was going to bring that up around the E521 series that has the weight towards the shaft or the heel,
right,
where your center of gravity is further back.
And that one, it's
in the C,
back in the center. Like it's
right.
That one is based off. It's a square. They want a square face there, but they leave that up to you. That's just giving you a center of gravity lower and back in the club. So, like we said, lower center of gravity means higher launch.
Right.
Back means higher spin. Now that's where it gets tricky with like, well, what? And that's what I was saying with the Cobra clubs for so long, right? I put that center of gravity back and I hit the ball more square, but I was getting that center of gravity placement in those drivers. My launch wasn't terrible, but low and back, I was getting too much spin with that position. And I was hitting a little too high where I just wasn't getting my optimal performance out of it. Where now in the RADSpeed, I'm putting the weight back there. I'm hitting it in the center of the face and I'm getting a nice medium launch and my spin staying down. So they have tricks, right? They have things to be like, hey,
right.
The player who wants this doesn't want that much extra spin. Maybe they'll take the launch, but they'll tweak it. You can different weights, lead tape, you name it. There's a million ways to deal with it, but you can use modifying the center of gravity in some way, shape, or form to impact your flight. It's not, if you're a slice driver, you're probably not going to get rid of it just by throwing some weight in the heel of it. Do I know from experience? Maybe. Yeah, does that explain it?
I think so. So MOI is the twisting.
Yep.
CG is flight and spin.
Right. And this goes,
and that's how those affect us.
So think about your EX2 Tour Edge EXS 220 3-wood review that I bust your chops on, but like that's why that thing I think is so good. It has a pretty high MOI. The center of gravity is low and back, I think, in it. But either way, it's just so easy to get that club through squarely and get the ball in the air because Tour Edge put such a focus on those things. Like, square face, man. Just going to give you a square face at impact and get that ball in the air for you. And you'll hit it 290 yards.
All right. So I didn't tell you about this, that I was going to do this. So if you have a question for Uncle Bill, it could be about anything. It doesn't even have to be about golf gear. Any question you can ask Uncle Bill. But so put that in the comments, and we'll start collecting. If you're on social media, say you're on Twitter, and maybe you haven't started following us at Chris McEwen and at Range Heroes.
Send questions to at Chris McEwen because he's the only one that's going to respond to those, and I don't need the other two. The other two knuckleheads.
Yeah. So ask your question, but you should hashtag it with Ask Uncle Bill.
Yeah, do that on actually legit do it on at Chris McEwen. He's better at Twitter. I reserve the right to not answer any non-golf questions.
That's fair. I'll run those by you first.
I appreciate it.
That being said, that is the very first Ask Uncle Bill.
We'll figure out our way. This first one, we'll as I've been saying lately, we'll hit our stride on this.
I thought it was great.
Oh, all right.
Give your thoughts on Ask Uncle Bill, and then ask a question after you've given your thoughts.
Perfect.
Viewers. Okay. The last topic, this show's cruising here. I feel like we're really rolling through, even though we're at an hour.
Did you look at the time on this thing yet? And that's where I'm like, hey, I talked way too much about one of the most like engineer, and I don't, not negatively, like one of the most engineered drivers I've ever seen. I answered two pretty basic questions, as long-winded as possible, but I feel like I'm gonna go back to, I think I did that in pretty good layman's terms, not like you're seeing in Golf Magazine. That should make it pretty easy to understand. I hope.
I feel like I understand it more, so that's really all that matters.
I'm with you. If I can help you, it's good enough for me.
Yeah. So, so dropping next week, we've teased it a couple of times, but the video where you and I go head to head, Tour Edge E521 versus Tour Edge C521 Match Play Challenge, will drop.
Kind of feel like I want to have a rematch. Like, just
we'll have a rematch. What if we swapped gear? I played the C and you played the E.
I will turn it into a series. You do that, and we do that. So where does the series stand?
Right.
And then, I guess theoretically it could be over. But then be like, all right, go back to the one you already played and see what happens. We're gonna play like 10 of these matches. I've just figured out.
It's gonna be a series of best of 7 matches.
Yeah, and Tour Edge, like, we launched 3 new product lines. Can you stop?
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah, no, we can't. All right, so so that's gonna drop on Tuesday. Correct?
This comes out Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is that the 12th? Are you gonna be able to hit the 12th?
That's the plan.
Love it. That's awesome.
That's the plan.
Really great for Driving Range Heroes
it's in Riv's post-production hands right now, so we got to put the pressure on him to make sure he gets his parts done. But anyways, we're gonna do something to celebrate our first real collaborative That Range Life Productions video.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. This is Bill's idea. So Bill, tell the audience what we're going to do.
So one of my favorite clubs in the Hot Launch series, E or C, and it was when I first saw him, and it was after going through testing, reviewing, and the match, is the Tour Edge Hot Launch C521 fairway wood. Okay, it's a great fairway wood. I think it's, I can see a lot of the guys who watch this being like, oh, it's not my speed. I'm better than that. But like, I could use an easier to hit fairway wood though. And for whatever reason, I'm into it. Oh, that looks good. I think this is it. Now, I'm gonna lay out one warning. It took me some adjusting when we went and tested them that one day at the driving range.
True.
I hit the same dummy mark pop-up shot on that club probably a good 6 times, and to the point where it wasn't like, oh, like it was clearly me getting used to the club and figuring out what it does and how to hit it, because it is in the same exact spot on each shot.
Right.
I think I already sharpied it in, so it's not so
bad.
bad.
You did, yeah.
But it's authentic. It's from the match. It's from the testing. This was my 3-wood. Because of that, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to happen to a fairway wood anyway. You hit him out of sand. You hit him out of rough. You hit him you'll hit him off of a cart path if you have to.
And don't forget the most important thing. It's going to be free because we're going to give it away.
We are going to give it away on the show.
Bill is going to part ways with his beloved C521 fairway. Now, is it a specific fairway?
I don't remember, the marketing of all this. If they had like a 3 plus, a 5. This is a 7, I think 16 degree or 16 and a half degree 3 plus. So it's like a 4-wood.
Okay. We'll put a link to the actual Tour Edge site if you want to check out what it actually is and get the specs.
Could do that.
Fair?
Yeah. For the giveaway. Okay. Hey, for the giveaway, all the specs will be in there. I mean, I'm almost thinking we're at 55 minutes on the show right now. We'll do 55 minutes on the giveaway.
That's fair. All right. So then, so here's how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. There's a link down in the notes.
Not there. Now. There will be. Or are we starting now?
No. On Tuesday. On Tuesday. All right. In the video, when we launch it, the Match Play Challenge, there'll be a link there. and it will take you to a contest page, and you do what there are multiple ways to enter. Some of them will be subscribing, which you may have already done, so that's great. But you need to comment on the video, right? That'll be another way you can enter. Following us on Twitter will be another way. Instagram will be another way, and visiting Bill's gem of a website.
Hey, thanks.
drivingrangeheroes.com. So those are the ways you can enter. There'll be a bunch of different ways. We will pick a winner in 2 weeks from this show. All right. And then we'll send you the driver. Fairway wood.
And I'll say this. Hey, get used to it. Get the practice in. We got some more stuff lined up to give away.
It's true. When I opened the show saying that we got some stuff coming, I was genuine about it. We do have some stuff coming. So get involved, subscribe, like, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Follow us on all our different social medias, and that media is already plural, so it's social media.
I'm good either way.
It's fine. And I'm excited for the video. I think we've put a lot of work into it. I think it's a fun watch. And yeah, that's it, Bill. That's all I got.
I will say in that video, I hit one of the best golf shots any of us have ever hit.
On camera, and that's true.
Like every time I've watched the draft of this video, I'm like, hang on, did that really just happen? And it's funny because it's sort of inconsequential, but it's still awesome.
It's a great moment of the video. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe we should we even maybe do a premiere? Should we make it like a premiere?
Yes.
All right.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing. Yeah, it's a total thing. So we could maybe make a premiere. So tell your friends about the video, about the free fairway wood from Tour Edge that's going to come with it if you win it, and then we will be online Tuesday when that video drops.
Definitely.
And we can all talk about the video, and we can give some notes from behind the scenes about the match, and it'll be fun. Be a little way to interact with everybody and just kick off the new year.
Sounds good to me.
Bill is screaming inside. He is in full panic mode. I can already tell. I dropped this on him, and he's
I'm really honestly the only way I'm like, I gotta stop. I just hope I don't lean into the bits and the characters too much that I'm just mean. Like, just for fun. And like, no, stop. Don't be mean. Bill. Just be nice.
All right. That's the show. We've gone plenty long at this point.
I agree.
Because that's my favorite thing to do is when we go long.
And then blame me for it. Like, oh, yep, it's just me. Usual Chris and Bill. Yeah, this, that, and I'm kind of crabby right when I get on the show because it's always you. No, and
See, but look, I'm 2 days or 3 days alcohol free, and I'm so relaxed.
I'm gonna say, if we want to go back and keep adding minutes to the show, I will say this: I was a little worried when we got on because you didn't seem like it. You know how I always comment, it takes you a bit to come out of your shell, and I'm like, God, I swear to God, every time we get on, I feel like he's mad either about something or at me, and I almost be like, hey man, are we still best friends? And then you throughout the recording, you come out of it and whatever. I thought we were in the beginning, like, oh boy, you can tell he's 2 days in. But yeah, I do.
Well, we'll see how I'm feeling next week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe, like for Bill Bush from Driving Range Heroes at Range Heroes. I'm Chris McEwen at Chris McEwen. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next week.